What if the person everyone laughed at owned everything around them? What if the man in torn clothes held more power than the ones in polished suits? In a room full of judgment, one quiet truth was about to shatter every ego. They mocked him, humiliated him, treated him like he didn't belong. But in a single moment, their laughter would turn into silence. Because real wealth doesn't shout, it waits. And when it reveals itself, it changes everything. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Warriors, because this channel needs your support to spread kindness around the world. The bank lobby was alive with movement that bright morning. Sunlight streamed through tall glass windows, spilling golden light across the polished marble floor. Well-dressed customers stood in line, checking their watches, tapping their phones, and exchanging quiet conversations. Everything looked perfect, refined, almost too perfect. Then the doors opened. An old man stepped inside. His name was Mr. Harlan. Tall but slightly bent with age, his face carried deep lines carved by years of hard work. His gray beard was untrimmed, his faded checkered shirt hung loosely over worn jeans, and a simple straw hat rested on his head. In his rough, calloused hands, he held an old leather wallet. The moment he entered, the atmosphere shifted. Eyes turned. Conversations softened into whispers. Some people stared with curiosity, others with quiet judgment. He didn't belong in their world of sharp suits and polished shoes, or at least, that's what they thought. Mr. Harlan walked slowly and joined the line. He kept his head down, as if he had felt this kind of gaze his entire life. But today, he wasn't here for anything complicated. He simply wanted to check his account balance. A small task, yet somehow it always felt heavy. From across the room, the branch manager, Victor Morrow, stepped out of his glass office. Young, confident, and dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, Victor carried himself like someone who believed the world belonged to him. His eyes landed on the old man. A smirk formed instantly. He leaned toward a clerk and whispered something, making them chuckle. Then, loud enough for others to hear, he said, "If you even have a balance, old man, I'll pay you double." A few people laughed. The words cut through the room. Mr. Harlan didn't respond. He didn't argue. He simply lowered his gaze, standing there with quiet dignity. But inside, the sting was real. Years of being underestimated had taught him silence, but not numbness. Finally, his turn came. He stepped forward and handed his ID to the clerk. The young man behind the counter still wore a faint smirk as he began typing. But within seconds, that expression changed. His fingers froze. His eyes widened. He leaned closer to the screen, blinking as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Numbers filled the display, more zeros than he had ever seen in a personal account. His throat tightened. "Sir, your account," he whispered, unsure how to continue. Victor noticed the shift. Curious, and slightly annoyed, he walked over. "What's wrong?" he said with a laugh. "Don't tell me he actually has something in there." Without waiting, he grabbed the printed slip from the counter. And then, he froze. The laughter disappeared from his face. His eyes scanned the paper again and again, as if hoping it would change. But it didn't. His hands began to tremble. Because the man he had just mocked wasn't poor. He was unimaginably wealthy. And more than that. He was the owner of the very bank they stood in. Silence fell across the room. No one moved. No one spoke. The air felt heavy, like the entire space was holding its breath. Mr. Harlan calmly took the paper back, folded it, and placed it inside his worn wallet. Then he looked at Victor, not with anger, but with something far deeper. Disappointment. In a steady, quiet voice, he said, "The real balance we carry isn't in a bank account, but in how we treat others." Those words echoed louder than any shout. He turned and began walking toward the door. His slow steps seemed to fill the silent room. Victor stood there, frozen. His face burned with shame. For the first time in years, he felt small, not because of money, but because of who he had become. Just as Mr. Harlan reached the exit, he paused. He turned slightly, addressing everyone in the lobby. "I grew up with nothing," he said gently. "Every dollar I earned came from hard work and sacrifice. I built this bank not to create arrogance, but to give people hope." His eyes moved across the room, meeting the faces that once judged him. If someone looks tired, worn, or different, remember, you know nothing about their story. Treat them with the dignity you'd want for yourself. A young mother wiped tears from her eyes. An elderly man nodded slowly. Something had shifted in that room, something real. Without another word, Mr. Harlan stepped outside into the sunlight, and left behind a silence that spoke louder than anything else. Within days, the story spread. Victor was called into a meeting with the board. Sitting at the head of the table was Mr. Harlan, this time in a simple suit, still humble, still calm. Leadership, he said, is not about power. It's about respect. Victor couldn't carry the weight of his actions. Soon after, he resigned. But the impact of that day remained. The staff changed. Customers treated each other differently. And the story of the old man in the straw hat became something people never forgot. Because it wasn't just about wealth. It was about character. About dignity. About the truth we often ignore. That appearance can deceive, but kindness never does. If this story touched your heart, like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Warriors because this channel needs your support to spread kindness around the world.